This is the Underworld, the hidden dimension beneath the nether, and I believe that it is the thing that's gonna change the Civil War forever. But to understand why, you need to stop thinking about this war as if it takes place in the world everyone can see. Because that assumption is wrong. There's an entire dimension sitting underneath all of it that nobody in this war has accounted for, and the people who control it have exploits that will destroy Syndicate. So what actually is the Underworld? Because most people who have heard of it still do not fully understand what they're dealing with. The nether has a bedrock floor. That floor is supposed to be the absolute bottom of playable space. Below it is the void. Below void is nothing. Except that is not true on this server, because the Underworld exists in the space beneath the floor. A full dimension with terrain, a castle complex, a graveyard, a tower with working brewing equipment, and a portal hub with approximately 20 portals each connecting to a specific location on the server described as a point of interest. This did not appear by accident. Someone built it. Someone who had the ability to place blocks in a dimension that normal players cannot interact with at all. Which brings us to the most important detail about the Underworld that almost nobody has stopped to think about. When Wemmbu and Booster fell through into the Underworld, they discovered immediately that neither of them could place or break a single block. Not because they lacked materials, because the dimension itself rejected the input entirely. The rule is not enforced through permissions they could work around, it is built into the structure of the dimension. Only the soulkeepers, identified by their green armor trims, can place and break blocks inside the Underworld. Think about what that means in a fight. Every combat tactic that relies on changing the environment, blocking corridors, building cover, placing water to break falls, sealing exits, become exclusively available to one side. Flamefrags is a top 5 fighter on this server. Shubili is one of the best aerial combat players alive. Both of them inside the Underworld cannot place a single block, while soulkeepers can build whatever they want around them in real time. That is not a small advantage. That is a complete inversion of how combat works on this server, and it belongs entirely to a faction that neither Parrot nor Separator has ever tried to talk to. Now let's talk about the portal hub, because this is where the Underworld stops being an interesting lore detail and starts being the most important location in the entire Civil War. There are around 20 portals in that hub. 2 have confirmed destinations. 1 connects to Serpentbound's kingdom in the Farlands. 1 connects to an unnamed forest area. The other 18 points somewhere that nobody outside the Soulkeepers know. The portal that connects to Serpentbound's kingdom did not link to a random patch of wilderness. It connected to a specific existing civilization, a populated, strategically significant settlement. That is the pattern. These portals do not go to random coordinates, they go to places that matter. Apply that logic to 18 remaining portals and ask yourself what the most important locations on the server are right now. Spawn, the center of the entire Civil War, and the location Syndicate is marching toward. The Northern Council, Parrot's capital, and almost certainly the site of the war's final battle. The Mafia tomb in the far end, containing every resource from Season 1 and the stasis chambers of hundreds of thousands of former members. Every single one of these could be one of the 18 remaining portals. But what does this actually mean for the Civil War? A portal that connects directly to Spawn changes the war directly. The faction that finds that portal and uses it can appear at the most contested location on the server without traveling overland, without passing through nether corridors, without touching any checkpoint or defensive position either side has built. Every fortification Parrot has constructed on the approach routes to his capital becomes irrelevant to anyone who walks through the right door in the Underworld. This brings us to Clownpius, because his position in this war is built entirely on a geographic assumption that the Underworld proves false. Clownpius controls the nether. Every piece of netherite that exists on the server passed through his monopoly. Every army that moved at speed did so through corridors he owns. Both sides of the Civil War buy from him rather than challenge him because his control seems absolute. His monopoly was declared over the nether. It was not and could not be declared over a dimension he does not know exists beneath it. The Underworld has portals connecting to locations across the server. A player with Underworld access and portal knowledge can move between significant server locations without ever entering the nether's navigable space. without passing through any corridor of Clownpiece monitors, without touching any resource he taxes, without triggering any system he has built to track movement. The faction that figures this out does not need to buy transportation from Clownpiece. They do not need to negotiate with him for resource movement. Their logistics chain runs underneath the dimension he controls, and he has no idea it exists. That is not winning a battle against Clownpiece. That is making his position irrelevant without fighting him at all. Now here's the detail that connects all of this to a specific play and a specific moment that the server has already seen. When Wemmbu and Ikchan were walking through the Farlands with Jamato, they noticed small monuments embedded in the ground that Wemmbu said looked like they were connected to the Underworld. Jamato's response was immediate. You're not supposed to know about that place. Not a denial that the connection existed, not an explanation of what the monuments were, just a firm statement that the knowledge itself was off limits. Those monuments are access points. Jamato knows where they are. He got that knowledge even from players he is temporarily working with. Every one of those Farlands monuments is a potential key to the portal hub, and nobody has gone back to find them because nobody except Jamato fully understood what they were looking at. Jamato has green armor trims. The soulkeepers have green armor trims. He has been to the Underworld multiple times, knows the monuments, knows the portal hub, and responds to questions about it with the authority of someone who belongs there rather than someone who visited. Whether he is a soulkeeper or simply someone the soulkeepers have accepted into their dimension is less important than what his access means. He is the only active player on the main server with both knowledge of the Underworld's layout and the reason to use it during the Civil War. His null operation is built around stability and controlling information. The Civil War is the largest destabilizing event this server has ever seen. At some point, those two things intersect. And when they do, Jamato's Underworld access becomes an operational asset in the conflict above it. He does not need to fight anyone. He does not need to deploy hunters or use the null strike on nether corridors. He just needs to stand at the portal hub and decide who gets to use it. Then there's the gold block, and this is the detail that changes everything about what the Underworld represents. In the center of the Underworld's castle, there is a gold block. Standing near it causes extreme immediate game lag, not mouse slowdown but significant performance impact from proximity alone. Ordinary gold blocks do not compute anything. The lag that this block produces suggests active server level processing happening in real time when players get close to it. Something is running when players approach it, and nobody has explained what. Wifies, who is confirmed dead, posted a direct reference to the Underworld specifically after Wembu's exploration video came out. He asked if viewers had seen the end of Wembu's newest video, pointing specifically at the moment in the footage involving the gold block. Wifies is dead. He posted about the block in the hidden dimension that causes server computation when approached. The soulkeepers are named for a function. They keep something. The dimension is named after death. A place called the Underworld, beneath all other dimensions, run by entities whose title references preservation of something that persists after players die, with a block at its center that the server actively computes when triggered by proximity. The most straightforward reading is that the gold block stores something related to players who have died, that the soulkeeper's actual function is not just governing the dimension, but maintaining whatever persists after death from the server. And that Wifies, who has been dead for a whole season, knows about it because he is connected to it in a way that a living player cannot be. If that reading is correct, then every confirmed death on the server becomes a question. Not just Wifies, players who died in major battles, players whose totems popped in Purgatory. The distinction between permanent death and soulkeeper custody is the most important question on the server, and the answer lives in a dimension that neither Parrot nor Separator has ever visited with that question in mind. Now think about what the soulkeeper themselves are as a faction, because nobody in this war has thought about them as something to recruit. When Wemmbu and Boosfer fell into the Underworld, the soulkeepers responded with containment. They captured Boosfer, imprisoned Wemmbu, pursued both when they tried to escape, used happy gas for aerial mobility, and coordinated multiple agents at the same time. When their leader died, the remaining keepers retreated rather than continuing the fight. That last detail matters. They pulled back. This is a faction that defends territory and enforces the rules. It does not seek conquest. Every major player in the Civil War has tried to recruit the most valuable fighters on the server. Cindercrest pulled in flamefrags and Shoebilly. Parrot built loyalties across multiple cities. Arachnid used Achtron to secure Wembu. Nobody has approached the faction that controls instant transit to every important location on the server and operates in a dimension where opposing armies cannot modify the environment at all. The soulkeepers are the most under-recruited military asset in the entire war, and their documented behavior suggests they respond to respectful contact differently than they respond to armed incursion. The faction that makes genuine first contact with an actual offer rather than an accidental fall through gains the portal hub, and the portal hub is a master key to every location this war is being fought over. Both sides of the Civil War has been playing the same game. Neither Parrot nor Separator built their war plans around a dimension they did not know existed. That is the entire foundation of their strategic thinking being built on an incomplete map. The player who finds the right portal, or makes the right contact with the soulkeepers, or figures out what Jamato has been protecting in the Farlands does not win a battle. They win access to so much more. The most important move left in the Civil War has not happened yet. It will not happen on the battlefield. It will happen when someone walks into a portal hub with 20 doors and figures out which one opens into the room where the war gets decided. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and dropping a like on this video. Click the video on screen, and goodbye!